Hello and welcome to India's World. Today we are going to discuss the escalating crisis in the Korean Peninsula. North Korea has deployed missiles on its east coast against America. The US itself has also sent its stealth bombers to a base in South Korea. Its B-52 bombers have done sorties, training sorties in that area, and missile shield has been deployed in Guam. Where is this crisis leading to and how did it come about? To discuss this, I have with me three distinguished guests. I have with me Ambassador Skand Tayal. He was our ambassador to South Korea. We have Professor Sandip Mishra, teaches Korean studies in Delhi University. You've been to South Korea, you lived there. You've also been to North Korea recently. And I have a very old friend and a distinguished diplomat, Ambassador M.K. Bhadrakumar. He's served in Korea and he's a formidable voice and a commentator in foreign affairs in India. So welcome all of you to this conversation. Let me begin with you, Ambassador Tayal. How did this crisis come about? Who did what to whom? When North Korea conducted a missile test on December 12th, even American experts agreed that they actually had sent an object into space. And North Korea had been claiming that it was a peaceful satellite launch. Yet the US went to the United Nations and tried to move for sanctions. A provoked North Korea then went and tested nuclear weapons for the third time on February 12th, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So, how did this all happen?
One has to look at the history, and there is a lot of history. The history of Korean War, where Kim Il-sung was somewhat like Ho Chi Minh. He was a nationalist. He was trying to fight the Japanese colonialism. And Americans came in, divided the country, and there is a lot of baggage from there. Then one has to see that the Americans were the first to introduce nuclear weapons in South Korea in 1958. They had atomic shells. Then the whole axis of evil and that kind of threats to North Korea. So North Korea wants regime survival, it wants nuclear weapons capacity. One has to look at this history and then see where we have come today.
Okay.
And North Korea at present perhaps wants that it should be fully recognized as a nuclear weapon state and then enter into direct negotiations with United States.
Okay, Professor Mishra, is this strategy that North Korea is following, is it due to the inexperience of Kim Jong-un, or is it a well thought out strategy? Which, as Ambassador Tayal says, wants dialogue with the US or perhaps revival of the six-party talks?
I don't think that is, you can say, it's because of immaturity of Kim Jong-un. I think actually, if you look at the ruling elite of North Korea, many of them, they have been there for several years. Like say the second most important person in North Korean politics, Chang Sak-taek, who is actually husband of Kim Jong-il's sister. So I think he has been very important and he is still very important in North Korean politics. It's a well thought out plan, and the plan, I look at the origin of this particular episode of crisis from 2008. From 2008, America and South Korea, they tried to strangulate North Korea. They tried to put more and more pressure on North Korea. And through that, they wanted that North Korea would leave its nuclear program. Not only that, they also probably thought that they will try to delegitimize North Korean, say, Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un regime. And probably by escalating this tension, North Korea has been trying to probably say that, look, this policy of pressure is not going to work. So I see that's a very well mature, well thought out, well planned out actually strategy on the part of North Korea. And I think it should be seen like that.
Okay, Ambassador Bhadrakumar, was the timing right? I mean, there is food shortages, there's, foreign imports are not coming in, you're completely isolated. So, is North Korea willing to eat grass to go nuclear?
Yeah, you see, this is a very pivotal moment, in many ways. So, I actually would like to expand the scope of the discussion to say that this is, I'm not entirely sure whether this is simply targeted at North Korea. The maneuverings which have taken place in the recent weeks and recent months. We have the backdrop of the United States is rebalancing in Asia. And lot has happened in the last 1 year, not 1 year, 6 month period rather, in terms of this pivot to Asia. you know, the kind of arc which in the Chinese perception has developed in the Asia Pacific region. Now, suffice to say that this puts enormous pressure on China. Now, that is something which we have to factor in, because what has the United States achieved so far? It's been able to bring in the ABM systems and deploy them in the Asia Pacific region.
In Guam?
Not only in Guam, and also in Japan.
Yeah.
And an entire arc is developed now which can peep very deep into China. Chinese missile sites are quite a bit on the western side, fortunately from their point of view in Xinjiang, which is why there is a heightened sensitivity on their part now on Afghanistan and Central Asia. Yeah. So this is part of the thing. The kind of Chinese response to the situation is something of infinite interest to the Western world.
We'll discuss China later.
Yeah, yeah.
Ambassador Tayal, do you agree that the whole thing is being engineered, or because there seems to be an element of some accidental events which are propelling the situation forward?
It may not have been engineered, but the fallout will perhaps be more to the liking of the United States, because things are not likely to really go to a flashpoint.
So you're agreeing with the Master Bhadrakumar?
And also, what will be the reaction of Japan? It is propelling both Japan and Republic of Korea more towards United States of America, when they were trying to have more bridges open towards China.
Yeah.
I think
you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say that this issue that, like, you asked this question to Mr. Bhadrakumar, that like timing actually. I think timing, because of all the regions you mentioned, that economic hardship in North Korea, they are like, so this desperation of North Korea is also one of the reasons why they are saying that, look, this pressure is too much for us. So they are saying that, look, we have to show, even if it's risky, but we have to show that, look, this policy is not working. So I think they want to probably underline this point. Okay. In this
accept us as a nuclear weapons power, and then let us start negotiating.
Okay, no, we need to take a break at this point. We'll be back again soon. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are discussing the crisis in North Korea. Ambassador Bhadrakumar, you wanted to say something before we went on the break.
Actually, I wanted to begin saying that, you know, I get the same feeling that Ambassador Tayal articulated, that you know, that this need not, there is no inevitability that this will really go to a flashpoint. There is a contrived nature. And I think the contrived nature is because there is a very heavy dose of geopolitics in this. Now, the point I was wanting to suggest is this, that there is a parallel track running which we should not ignore. And it is almost identical, which is Iran. Again, sanctions, putting a lot of pressure, currency falling, and, you know, a lot of privations for the people, etc. Regime being cornered, isolated, tensions with all its neighbors in one way or the other, the Americans have been able to bring in. And then, so what is happening now in North Korea is actually going to be also a trial run
for
in
Iran.
Terms of, yes, in terms of the Iran question.
Yeah. But, you know, this kind of brinkmanship has been used by North Korea earlier also to sue for dialogue. But a lot of people believe that it won't happen this time, because even China seems frustrated with the brinkmanship of Kim Jong-un. And Russia said that North Korea cannot behave in a manner which goes against the international nuclear regime.
I think one has to look at the North Korean objective. There are two major objectives. One is to get the country accepted as a nuclear weapons power, so that they have some kind of a security. And the second, they want really economic aid and normal relationship with the rest of the world. Whether this is the best way to go about it, that is a different issue. But one has to separate the two issues. Nuclearization of Korean Peninsula and what the expectation of North Korea is in its relationship with the outside world.
Okay. Professor Mishra, do you think this is just saber rattling, as others are suggesting, or do you think it could become unmanageable and become a flashpoint?
I don't think that this is saber rattling. I personally feel that whenever North Korea makes a threat, actually, they are very sincere about that, because lots of, even their existence is at stake, actually. So if suppose anything happens, you can say because of miscalculation or whatever, if something war starts on Korean Peninsula, it would be a very, very dangerous war for North Korea.
So that is why you think they have shunted South Koreans from that joint project they have at Kaesong Industrial Complex, and they've asked embassies to consider evacuating their staff?
I will suggest you to probably look at this whole issue. Like, you know, North Korea, they have been negotiating and with America, with South Korea, with general international community in a certain manner, and most of the time they had some demands, and they want that international community in general, or say America in particular, they should actually recognize their demands, their threat perception. And they have been actually, if you recognize their demand, their threat perception, they have been positively responding as well. Now, having said that, I will say that this time, this game of staring at each other, most of the time, the other party, it blinked first. Yeah. This time, America and South Korea, they are very firm that they are not going to blink first. North Korea, it has never actually history of actually blinking first. So it's an important, you can say, crisis or rather challenge for their image that they don't blink first. Because if they change that image is actually gone, then North Korea would be having less power in negotiations future.
Yeah. Mr. Bhadrakumar, what should America do? Suppose you were the Secretary of State of the United States of America. How would you diffuse this crisis?
I think that we can expect a greater engagement with China. That is definitely on the cards. You know, now the Japanese
diplomatic engagement.
You see, when the Russians are criticizing North Korea, on the one hand, they are also counseling on the other side, exactly almost ditto China's reaction, caution and restraint on both sides. And somehow incrementally, you know, come back to the track of the talks, you know, which the United States tapered off.
But you can't see any incremental steps being taken. At least they're not in the public sphere.
It is as has been rightly said. You know, there is a Vanity Fair going on in terms of, you know, this confrontation, who will blink first. Part of the reason is also this, that, you know, we have a certain president in South Korea at the moment, you know, who is, you know, personally, you know, involved in this in a way. You know, she's a daughter of Park Chung-hee, and, you know, there was an assassination attempt on him, and his mother was assassinated, you know. So it's all, you know, got mixed up like this. Yeah. But if you look at the United States' efforts to calm down the waters in East China Sea, when it flared up over the disputed islands between China and Japan, I think it will follow that, because the point is that kind of a conflict with catastrophic consequences all around, with a lot of debris flying all over, and if the United States even has to pick up 100 dead bodies, I think it will be politically extremely damaging and inconsistent with what the Obama administration has been saying. Yeah. So I don't think that is the path that will be pursued. Cornering North Korea, pressuring it, is a cyber is definitely going on.
Yeah. I'll just come to you. Ambassador Tayal, what happens? Consider the possibility that the scenario doesn't unfold as Ambassador Bhadrakumar has said, and it's North Korea which has to blink first. What happens? Will there be a regime change? If Kim Jong-un loses face with his generals, what happens then?
America will have to talk to North Korea, whether directly or through China or through back channel. There is no other way to go about it. Number two, I agree with Dr. Mishra that there will be some action. Either the exercises will be over, because the joint military exercises are going on, and North Korea will say, because of our pressure,
these are exercises between the US military and the South Korean military.
And or some missile launch will be there. Some action would be there where North Korea can claim that it has come out the victor. But it will be short of war, and there is absolutely no question of any regime change, or that there is no leverage with the United States or any country has. There is no Ayatollah Khomeini hiding in Paris. There is no trade union. There is no student organization. There is absolutely no focus of any kind of opposition within North Korea.
So, but what is the message that goes to the world? That, you know, you can, sort of bomb your way into the nuclear club. You know, India did it, then North Korea will do it. Then,
that is, the South Koreans used to tell me that what we did in 1998, it was a bad example for North Korea. And as Mr. Bhadrakumar says, Iran is watching. If North Korea gets away with it, Iran will follow suit.
Exactly. Sorry,
actually,
you wanted to say something.
I wanted to say about what Mr. Bhadrakumar was saying, that, you know, this time, the general, it's not the first time when North Korea and America, they are at the, you can say, contest with each other. I think, but and this game of staring and blinking, who blinks first, I think. But I think this time the issue has become difficult, as Ambassador Tayal told, that this time North Korea is saying that, okay, we are ready to come for it probably, but you have to now negotiate with a nuclear North Korea.
Okay.
So you can negotiate peace with us, but as nuclear North Korea. So that becomes a very, and if you look at this episode, I will try to draw one intention.
But
that
quickly, we're running out of time on this segment.
Okay, because I feel that both parties have been equally responsible for actions and reactions. Because if you look from American side also, every next day or every, you can say 2 days after, they are introducing like B-52, then B-2, then F-22, then...
Yeah, but to be fair to them, they've also said we don't need the situation getting heated up more
Even North Korean, Kim Jong-un has also actually ordered his military that they should not initiate anything.
Okay, we need to take a short break at this juncture again. We'll continue with this interesting discussion after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are discussing the crisis in North Korea. Ambassador Tayal, let me come to you. Let's look at the role of China. Do you think China could play the role of a broker to help start a dialogue between the US and North Korea, but without any preconditions, without the precondition that North Korea be accepted as a nuclear power?
The fact is that China is the only country which has some real leverage over North Korea. 80% of the refined fuel goes from China. They buy all the export, etc. is from between China and North Korea. So they are in a position to influence, and their channels of communication are always open. And they tried to play this role in six-party talks, but North Korea walked away. So the leverage of China is to that extent limited. And North Korea has repeatedly been saying it wants direct negotiations with the United States on a non-aggression pact, and it has its own conditions, equality, nuclear power status, northern limit line, the maritime boundary to be renegotiated. It's a very, very complex situation, but North Korea wants direct negotiations with the United States.
Mr. Bhadrakumar, do you think China is in a unique position to take advantage of this situation? They could use this situation to curtail US influence in the region, and at the same time, in the UN Security Council, pretend that they're playing a very constructive role?
No. I think on the other hand, in terms of Chinese writings and in the state media, Communist Party papers and all which I've been reading, Chinese are also not unaware of the potential that this has for working with the US, on any front. Like Kevin Rudd had recently had made a speech in the Chinese National Defense Academy in Beijing, where he, in fact, and Kevin Rudd, is very close to the American establishment, former Prime Minister of Australia. Rudd said this, that, that this is a litmus test of China's capacity to work in the established world order as a stakeholder. So China is also conscious of that. China's concerns are the following. One is, of course, if there is any conflict there, China will have to pick up a lot of the debris in terms of refugees, pollution, and all the rest of it. Secondly, if it gets occupied by the US, that country for some reason, I think it's extremely difficult for China to accept it. Thirdly, there is a potential for the other countries in the region to go nuclear, which China would dearly like to avoid, where China has a congruence of interest with the US. Fourthly, this is the most important thing, is that the new leadership in China is also looking for ways and means of working with the US. And North Korea is one of those issues where, like the Russians would like to work on Afghanistan and Iran with the Americans. This is one of the areas where a kind of a matrix can be worked out between the US and China, which will have interesting fallouts in the overall relationship between the two powers.
Professor Mishra, do you think this is the reason why some Chinese intellectuals are arguing, strategic thinkers are arguing that China should offer Chinese nuclear umbrella to North Korea, prevent them from going nuclear? So do you see that as an attempt to work within the existing world order?
I do feel that this is one of the ways out, actually, how to move forward, because China has been quite uncomfortable in this situation, because earlier they had a very we need to understand, when we see that actually China is not able to control.
North Korea is unlikely to give up its nuclear weapons capacity. Carry on.
That's one of the possibility. But you know, similarly, if I have to also say, I'll say that American and South Korean, they are not going for any negotiation with nuclear North Korea. That is also equally, you can say, I think, true. So what I'll say that China is uncomfortable with this situation, and they do want to intervene. And if you look at their role in North Korea, I think even if they don't have enough leverage on North Korea to control North Korea, but they do have leverage over North Korea to decide that, look, there is a threshold. You can negotiate and you can behave under that threshold line with America, with South Korea, but you don't cross. If you cross that threshold, we are not going to support you. So I think that's going, and probably because of this Chinese role, this critical role of China, I think if you look at the last, future 2 weeks, I think a few days back, Obama talked to Chinese president on phone. Then I think next Saturday, foreign minister.
Okay, so they're talking.
Okay, one point I'll just...
Actually, Chuck Hagel spoke to Chang, Defense Minister Chang.
And there one point in this context to be noted that Global Times in an editorial has said that China need not come to the support of North Korea in case it leads to war. Definitely. That is a very clear warning to North Korea. Please be careful, and you have to fight it alone.
But what happens? Suppose the US fails in the region, what would be the consequences?
US's direct stakes in North Korea are not really that much. If suppose North Korea becomes nuclear, now what exactly does it mean? It can never really threaten the United States of America. It can threaten South Korea. It can threaten Japan. How will Japan and South Korea react to it? Will Japan go the nuclear way? So I would say that in some ways, United States is quite far from this theater, and the reactions of neighbors would be more important.
See, one thing you have to see, first of all, it develops a kind of synergy for, the Iran question. Yeah. Secondly, as Skand said earlier, that, it consolidates, the alliance system there involving South Korea. And thirdly, in terms of the rebalancing of Asia, US gets almost embedded right in the first circle of the Asia-Pacific security.
If it fails or if it succeeds?
No, as a result of all this. And
either way.
And the most important thing, we do not have to overlook that, is that there is an NPT review conference coming. And there will be a far more cooperative China and Russia in the NPT review conference.
That is the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty,
yes,
out of which North Korea walked out.
Which is, do not forget, in the State of the Union speech, the only theme that Obama really wanted to talk about in foreign affairs was his disarmament agenda, which he unfolded in 2009 in his Prague speech. Right. So it's a very important agenda, and he sees that as his presidential legacy.
Okay, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was saying that actually we have to like China per se till now, it hasn't been it has been showing its displeasure with say North Korean nuclear program, but it doesn't look doing anything substantial to stop that. That's one China, you can say, approach to North Korea. And at another level, we see that whenever there were any resolution in last 10 years against North Korean missile tests, North Korean nuclear tests, invariably China has gone ahead, along with actually US and South Korea. So basically, the reason is that China is not threatened per se by North Korean nuclear weapons, but China is threatened by the repercussion which it will have. And I think one of the
on the US, increasing US role in the region.
Increasing US role in the region. South Korea probably thinking about going nuclear. Japan probably opting for going nuclear. So I think all these implications would be very dangerous for China. And few of them, as Mr. Bhadrakumar mentioned, that we can see that how American presence, say military presence, they are going to actually increase in the region.
Okay, let me ask a slightly different question. How does India view all this? Indian diplomatic mission has just gone to Pyongyang. So is this a routine foreign office visit? Is it a feeble attempt at projection of power in the region? After all, we are contenders for the UN Security Council and we have to engage with all the big developments in the world. How do you see it?
I think India should engage itself with the region. We are friendly with both the countries. We have had a relationship with both North Korea and South Korea since the very beginning division of the... We were always neutral in the Korean War. So there is a legacy which is perhaps respected by both sides. But having said that, let me say that at present state of our relationship with the two Koreas, our role will be very, very limited. And we have to just, in whatever way we can, talk to everybody and make sure that this really doesn't cross the flashpoint.
What do you think
Yeah,
India's role
actually,
should be?
recently I visited North Korea, and actually on 8th of March, I had meeting with the director in Foreign Ministry of North Korea. And when I asked that what India could do, he said that, look, Indian role and Indian stand on Korean and other issues during Cold War days, it has been very fair and very neutral, and we really respect that. I think in post-Cold War days, somehow, there are so many other variables for how actually we probably drifted away from each other. But in general, they say that again, probably, India could bring the sense of fairness and neutrality and actually real negotiations in this whole crisis and this whole official.
Why is India being so fair to North Korea? After all, it's a rogue state which has been, giving nuclear technology, giving missile technology to Pakistan, receiving nuclear technology from there. And here we are trying to do a great balancing act by saying, though, we should be good to North Korea.
Other than the very fine legacy which Ambassador Tayal outlined, there is also an element of self-interest in this. As an old Pakistan hand, I can say that we have a very thick dossier on North Korea in the Pakistan side, because the point is, there has been a lot of transfer of, technology to Pakistan, which directly concerns
So how
our
does it help us if North Korea goes nuclear?
Having a dialogue and having a communication line with North Korea is a very consistent Indian approach towards this, because one way of tempering their attitudes towards our region, and or rather towards vitiating the security climate in our region. Then the number two is which I mentioned earlier, India is actually caught in a cleft stick now when the NPT review conference comes. We are in a twilight zone. Even the nuclear deal is in a state of animated suspension.
Absolutely. So are we. We don't know whether we have a nuclear status or not.
I think we are doing just the right thing to be on the ball, keeping abreast of things.
We've run out of time. I thank all of you for participating in this discussion and sharing your analysis of the situation with our viewers. Thank you very much. I hope the situation doesn't escalate. There is no war. In any case, we hope to have you again to discuss this situation in our studio soon. That's all we have for you today. We'll be back again next week with another interesting issue. Till then, goodbye.